afternoon, everyone. This is such a nice little intimate crowd. My name is Scott Miller. I'm the CEO of Florida Senior Consulting. I want to tell you a little bit about us, but this is really about you. Our company was founded on the premise of aging well and understanding as we get older, indicators, things that come up in our lives that change our habits on a day-to-day basis. And we never really see it coming, do we? I just turned 60, and my hair turned gray way before I turned 60, but it sure snuck up on me. What I have done in my career is take care of seniors throughout my lifespan. I was a long-term care administrator. I'm a nationally board certified administrator in long-term care. I've served in many capacities. I've worked in assisted living. I've worked as a licensed nursing home administrator. I've worked at an executive level, managing many, many communities and many, many buildings across the country. When I retired early, because I didn't sleep often and I had a sofa in my office that I actually stayed a couple nights a week, I said, I have to find out how to have a life. And I thought retirement was the answer. And that lasted about 6 months, as you probably all have the same feelings. 6 months later, I said, I'm just going to consult a little. And then consulting brought me back into managing cases and taking care of elders. And that consulting opportunity led to a little niche and a little area of need, and it grew and it grew and it grew. We are now the largest, I know you didn't see this coming, we are the largest privately held senior services, advocacy, care management, and placement agency in the state of Florida. We have a footprint from Collier County to Pinellas County. We have just recently snuck into the Panhandle in Panama City and Fort Walton Beach. We are also positioned in Orlando. And as retirement would have it, my company intends to go statewide over the next 18 months. We have a goal to be in 47 of the 67 counties in the state of Florida, and that's retirement for you. So here it is. We're different, and I need you to know that about us. My company is built with clinical professionals. Many, many organizations in the senior industry are built around a sales cycle, and the sales cycle that targets us. And you've probably all experienced it. You may or may not have been a part of it on the internet. You are seeking some information or seeking some answers, and then you give your information. And then the next thing that happens is you're inundated with calls, or they share your information to people who then inundate you with calls. And I would advise that you be careful and be leery of that. I'll tell you a little bit about us. I am a long-term care certified administrator at a national level. I have a degree in gerontology. My staff is all clinically certified or clinically degreed. I have nurse practitioners on my team. I have a PhD in gerontology on my team. I have a master's in gerontology on my team. I have a duly certified attorney with a PhD in law with a medical focus on my team. And our sole purpose is to help seniors live well and to teach seniors about the pitfalls of the industry and about how to prepare for a life of wellness. So that's it about me. I'm not going to toot my own horn anymore, but I want to start to talk about senior living because that's why you're here. And I'm going to try to do this a little town hallish, if you guys wouldn't mind. I want you to participate. It's really important. I could stand here and give you a 30-minute speech, but the truth is the whole company mission is that it's about you. And what I try to tell the seniors that I engage with is that we're here to do your bidding. It should never, ever be the other way around. You will engage yourself with many clinicians and many professionals as you age that will have their own best interests at heart. Be aware. If it's not about your best interest and it's not about what you want, take pause and question. That's the best advice I can give you. So what I'm going to ask you, you all came here to learn something about senior living. So I'm going to put the ball in your court, and I'm going to let you guys tell me, why are you here today and what do you want to learn? Who would like to ask me or tell me that answer? So right out of the gate with an amazing question, and whoever else raised their hands, save your questions because they're important as well. So you just touched on a hot button. The state of Florida can be very confusing when it comes to what's out there. And I'm going to give you a real quick rundown of the types of communities and what they mean, because the terms don't always speak a definition. They just simply, hey, independent living. Independent living is what we do at home, right? Independent living means I'm independent. Now, independent living in a senior living environment means I'm kind of independent. Independent is the goal, but all the services are now provided for me. I don't have to cut the grass anymore. I don't have to cook my meals anymore. I don't have to mow the lawn, or I said that, take care of the pool. Those are the things that come off my plate in an effort to allow me to maintain my independence as long as I possibly can. So that's important. The goal of assisted living is to help you maintain your independence as long as you can. People don't see it that way. They look at it as a place I have to go because I can't be independent anymore. It's the opposite. To answer your question quickly, there are 3 types of communities that exist. One is independent living. Independent living lives wholly by itself in many, many environments. 55 plus communities, independent living. Then there's independent living in an AL environment where what you said was they have independent living, assisted living, maybe some are just that. And then there's another one that has independent living, assisted living, and memory care. The way that those have been developed is with you in mind. You brought up skilled nursing. So the goal is aging in place. And aging in place has more than one meaning. Aging in place at home, or aging in place once you move to a senior community. When you're in a senior community setting, they want you to be able to stay on one campus and be able to, okay, right now I'm independent. I don't have any real needs, but it's nice to have housekeeping and maintenance and garbage service and all that. But then if I have a life-changing event, an acute or chronic illness, or I'm just aging, at that point, I might need assisted living. The goal of those 3 services being in one campus environment is so that you can seamlessly move from independent living to assisted living to memory care. Skilled nursing. We're all going to need it at some point. You have a knee replacement, hip replacement, you have a fall or an incident or an accident of some kind where you end up hospitalized. One of the very first steps is skilled nursing. You go into skilled nursing. Just so you know, skilled nursing and rehab and nursing home all mean the same thing. They just call it different names. So what you're talking about exists. It exists in a very limited basis, and it also is a very pricey model. It's called a CCRC. A CCRC is a continuing care retirement community. That means everything is on one campus except the hospital. You have independent living, assisted living, memory care, and you have skilled nursing all in one environment. Those come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. Westminster is an example. Westminster is a not-for-profit, a very large not-for-profit that has CCRCs all over the state. Very well-run model, if that's something you're considering. Some of the disadvantages to a CCRC, most of them are buy-ins, which means you have to come up with a pretty good sum of money up front to be able to get in. Now I'm going to give you sticker shock. Those buy-ins can be anywhere from $100,000 to $1 million and more. Right? You think that that's horrible. The good ones are the not-for-profits. Be leery of for-profit run CCRCs, because if they take that money up front, you want to be assured that that money is being well invested. That money is there to create a pool, to maintain that property, to invest in that property, to reinvest in its residents. But many of the for-profit companies don't do it that way. So if you're ever looking for that environment, look at the not-for-profit first, and then know that you're going to be paying some money up front. Now the advantage, if you went to a Westminster community, and I'm only using them because they're a not-for-profit that I can think of, if you go into that environment, it costs you maybe $100,000 to $175,000 up front. The communities are to the nines. They're beautiful. And their care model is incredible. What is really nice is that that money that you put up front can be a declining balance back to you or your estate. And it locks in the monthly rate that you would pay for as long as you live. And it's much lower than most assisted living communities. So you can go into a Westminster environment, and I'm, again, just an example. You could pay $150,000 up front. They'll take 2% of that per month away. So over the course of 4 years, that money goes away. If you only stay 2, half of it comes back to you. You can pay more, and then they guarantee you a 90% rate back over time. The nice part is the cost of living there, which they don't call rent, they call maintenance, is somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 a month, all inclusive. Covers everything. That's okay. You got to get it? No, it's okay. I get those calls too all the time. You end up in a place where everything is covered. I gave you guys a calculator on your table. Those calculators compare cost of living at home versus an assisted living environment. Those are important when you understand the total costs that go into that particular environment. And nobody really knows how much they're actually paying at home unless you're very, very budget conscious. But you would be surprised. At $3,000 a month to be in that environment, it's very, very inexpensive. When you consider that it's 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, your utilities, all of your maintenance, all of the upkeep, anything you could imagine, and full care delivery as you age. And you can age in place. If you have to go over to the skilled nursing, you don't pay a dime. If you have to go into memory care, you don't pay a dime more. So that's the 3 styles. Now, within the multiple styles of community that exist in the state, there's 3 types of licensure that you should also be aware of. The 3 types of licensure are standard, LNS, which stands for Limited Nursing Services, and then ECC. ECC is Extended Congregate Care. The ECC license is as close to skilled nursing as you can get without being in a skilled nursing environment, which means basically they can take care of a very high acuity resident. A standard community, they don't even have to have a nurse in the building. So you think you're moving into an environment that has care, but it's minimal. It's aid care, it's CNA, PCA, nurse on call. If you had diabetes and you needed diabetes medication, you couldn't be in a standard community. Limited nursing services is just that. They have a nurse in the building a certain amount of time per day. It's better than standard. They can take care of more complex cases. But for example, if you have a wound and you're in standard or you're in limited nursing services, you can't stay in the building. You got to go. Now you're back in a skilled nursing facility. If you're in an ECC building, you have the best chance to age in place the rest of your life. One of the things I always recommend to my clients when they're looking at communities, it's easy to walk in and see the bells and whistles and go, wow, this is amazing. They've got a bar, they got bocce ball, they got this, they got that, they got a standard license. And then you go, it's a well-done community, but care was not at the front of their business plan. It was about amenities, and amenities-rich communities are everywhere. And there are many amenities-rich communities that are standard licensure. And then here's what happens. You move in, you think you've just moved to your forever home, and everything's great, and you sold off your home, and you got rid of your assets, and you're in this place because you're going to be there the rest of your life. Then you have a fall, or an incident, or a chronic illness, and that community says, we can't take care of you anymore to standard licensure. You have to move again. Nobody wants to be faced with that. The one thing, now you can see where I'm the advocate, right? I'm not I could just tell you, well, let's all go move to senior living today and I could get rich. That's not the goal. The goal is the right move. One time. You need to do this once. Just like every other thing we've done in our lives. We sell a home, we have to move. You have to move the family, or the kids. You have to move all your stuff. You have to get reacclimated. You have to get resituated. You start over. When you're an elder, starting over and reacclimating is a much more difficult process that we should all be keenly aware of. So when you make that decision to transition into assisted living, get help, because you need it to be the right decision. And I'm not saying that assisted living is bad. Trust me, I'm in the business, right? I'm just saying that it is very situational, and you need to be aware, and I always want to think ahead 10 years. If I'm working with you, I want to know not where you're going this month or this year. I want to look at your case, your history, your history of illness, some of your acuity issues, your ability to ambulate, take care of yourself on a daily basis. I want to look at all those things, and I want to plan 10 years out. What will that look like in 10 years? And then put you in an environment where that still looks good in 10 years. That's the goal. That number went up, by the way, from 5 years ago. I think it's 24,000 now. What she's referring to is having a private caregiver and having that paid through your long-term care insurance or through Medicare or Medicaid. Medicare will pay for certain care in certain situations. This is an entirely another conference that we could have. I could sit here and talk to you for 2 or 3 hours on Medicare, Medicaid. But when it comes to, so if you're convalescing at home, and if you need convalescent care, there are provisions in Medicare and Medicaid law that will pay for a relative to give you private services. They have to meet certain criteria. They can't just say, I'm sister from Idaho, I'm taking care of her, send me a check. They need to be a PCA, they need to be a CNA, or they would need to go through a course. Yeah, beautiful. And she's perfect then. She's a perfect situation for that. So if you need care at home and you want to stay at home, that's a good option. There's going to be a little twist. I say a daughter should stay your daughter. She should never become your caregiver. Changes the dynamic of your relationship for the rest of your life. If you're prepared to do that, that's okay. But it puts a significant burden on your loved ones to have to change their role. They've been this all their lives. Now they're this. So be cautious. If the dynamic is good, if she's a tremendous caregiver, she's given care all of her life, that's what she's used to, and that's what she knows how to do, and that's what she wants to do, have that conversation. It's important.
I don't want to be a burden on her.
We all feel that way, right? Right? Being a burden. We don't feel this way when we're kids. We don't feel this way when our parents are raising us and taking care of us every hour of every day. We don't feel like a burden because it's their job. It just was never planned to be the job on the opposite side. Most Europeans, the Japanese, there are many countries in the world that think what we do is horrible, deplorable. You don't take care of your elders. You don't let them move in with you. You don't feed them. You don't clothe them. You don't bathe them. How could you do that? In those cultures, it's a completely different mindset. Your family for life, regardless. In the U.S. culture, it's a different mindset. It's a fast-paced, dual-income culture where husbands and wives are working to make ends meet. It's changed the dynamic. If you go back to our era, and I can say that because my hair is gray or grayer than most of yours. You go back to our era, it wasn't that way. When you think about the 50s and the 60s, we were a one-income household, mostly, the majority. There was always a mother in the home taking care of the kids and taking care of the home, and we had our roles. We each had different roles. And then, over the course of time, those roles changed. There was 2 things that happened. Women wanted to be in the workforce and have that responsibility, and economics said that we had to. And that was the big one. Things changed for all of us financially. We used to live in box houses or row houses, and everything was small, and what we cared about was the family dinner table, gatherings, and being together for holidays, and then out in the community, we were neighbors. Now, it's keeping up with the Joneses. Bigger house, bigger car, bigger everything. So our society isn't built that way anymore. We don't have, if I had mom in my home here, and I shouldn't talk that way because I would think like you, but if I had mom in my home and my wife was out working full time and I'm out working full time, it's the same as leaving mom home alone, right? In an environment. I want to come back to that in a few minutes, so save my sentence about being left home alone. But your belief aligns more with her cultural belief, right?
And that's just...
And that's
because
fine.
of
It's
the
how
way
you
I
feel.
You know.
I think we have a responsibility to our parents, but I also think we have a responsibility to ourselves.
Yeah,
And
so you have to try and
It's a
figure
very
out
delicate
how to
balance.
it.
Yeah. I want to tell you something else. 96% of all seniors that live in an assisted living or senior living environment do not have a guardian. They have either themselves or at the very most a POA. Guardianship is an entirely different ballgame. You're responsible.
I've also been POA too.
But you're responsible, right? You're ultimately now responsible as the guardian. You're as responsible as a parent with a child under 14.
Right.
Just as responsible. It's rare. It's rare. But I commend you for doing that. Has it changed your life?
Yes,
In what way?
for the better.
Tell me how. Tell me how.
Because I learned something continuously, but I also had that internal caregiving, type feeling.
You're a nurturer,
Yeah, I'm a nurturer.
right? You're a nurturer. And that's wonderful. So don't ever feel bad about that. Not all of us are that. Not all of us have that ability. Did you have a career?
Oh, yeah.
Did you leave your career?
Yeah,
Okay.
because of my neighbors.
Any guilt over leaving your career?
No, not
Okay.
one single bit.
Good. You're hitting home runs then.
But,
Yeah.
it still was the hardest thing I ever did was do my parents. It's a totally different scenario than taking care of someone who isn't your mom or dad.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Well, I commend you because you're like me. I have my partner and the vice president of our company, both his father and his mother-in-law, 89 and 94 years old, live in his home with him. I think he's absolutely crazy, but he wouldn't have it any other way. The reason I think he's crazy because I see he works full-time, his wife works full-time, they're full-time caregivers, and their personal lives are so stressful because they don't have any me time, any human time for themselves. But they've accepted that. They've accepted that role and they've committed to it and they manage it very, very well. I'm not going to feel guilty by saying I couldn't do that. I just don't think working 70 hours a week that I would do justice to that situation. What is the number one predictor of longevity? Anybody want to take a stab at it? I heard somebody say socialization. You would have thought I would have said not smoking, nutrition. It is socialization. And does anybody here know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Have you ever heard of that before? Maslow. This is a college thing. So I'm going to give you the rundown, all right? I'm going to give you the layman's version of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's like a pyramid. On the top of the pyramid, two most important things we need to survive. What are they? Water is one. Food is the other. Right? Water and food. The next level is shelter and warmth. If you have cold, but you have shelter, you still die. The third one is socialization. It's the ability to be with other people, to have love and human contact. If you lose those two, the two top layers of the pyramid don't matter. Socialization. So many seniors today don't have her. They don't. Your parents are extremely lucky. The state of Florida was the nirvana of all of us retiring in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and we all came running here in droves because of palm trees and sunshine and beaches. We left our family. So we made the choice to be away from that social network that took care of us or could take care of us, like you. Did you move here because they were here, or were you already here?
Oh, no, my parents were in California. I moved here.
So you brought them here?
I ended up bringing them here.
Okay,
Because
all right.
I quit and was taking care of them there.
Yeah, so to your point, you know, in your culture, the family would have never just left.
Right.
The parents wouldn't have moved away and left the kids in Idaho or in Jersey or in Buffalo, which is where I'm from. You all retired at 62. You had Social Security, you had a pension. You said, I'm going to just be a snowbird. And that was the first mistake. You started to be a snowbird, and then it became harder and harder to go back and forth. Now you were here for 4 or 5 months a year, and then you went back home. And then you came back, and you were here for 6 months a year, and then you went back home. And then you said, I can't do both. We're going to sell the house up north. We like it here. We're going to be here year round because you're playing all the fun stuff. You're socializing with your friends. You're living in this community. You're all having a good time. And then the next thing you know, you have migrated. You have migrated into a new world. The kids continued on with their world. And in many cases, the kids end up migrating to be with mom and dad. Doesn't happen all the time. But I think that your culture didn't have moms and dads leaving town to go and retire somewhere else while they still had children and grandchildren around. They stayed in that environment. So we change our environment. Now we have aging. Aging. Do you know what aging is? Do you look in the mirror and see yourself aging every day? You do you? No. No way. You see every single day, you look in the mirror, you go, oh my God, I'm older than yesterday? If you didn't look for 6 months or a year, you might. But we don't see ourselves age. None of us do. We are just kind of living every day. We don't see ourselves age. Oh, I got one gray hair. Pluck it. Now I'm good. Now there's 3 more. Oh, crap. Well, the truth is, aging is one of the easiest examples of denial that I could think of. I have a colleague in the back room. She has a PhD in gerontology, and she knows exactly what I'm talking about. Aging is a normal thing that all of us deny. We have changes in ability, right? What's the first change in ability? Can you think of a change in ability from the last 10 years? Just name one.
Mental movement.
Less movement.
Mental, less movement.
You said mental? Mental acuity, mental sharpness, right? Puzzles used to be easy. Crosswords used to be easy. They get more difficult. Our mental acuity changes. Health decline, right? Changes in ability. Mental acuity. What was the other one? Movement. Lack of movement. Health ability, right? Well, what do? We develop coping mechanisms. We all have them. Reading glasses. That's a coping mechanism that I use. I can't go without them. So when you're in these situations, when you're aging, you figure out ways to cheat. We all cheat a little. I cheat with reading glasses. What do? We drive less at night. Why? Because you can't see at night anymore. Visual decline. It's a big one. right? We're all getting a bigger subscription or prescription every single year. You go back, oh, it didn't change this year? Woohoo! That's awesome. My eyes are still good. Even though I'm wearing Coke bottle glasses and I need readers on top of them, my eyes are good because they didn't change. The truth is, everything we do after a certain point in our lifespan becomes a coping mechanism. When we're kids, we're on an uphill curve, right? From the time we're born, we crawl, we walk, we learn to feed ourselves, we do all these things. And what are we all striving for? Independence. From the day we're born, we're striving for independence. And then we continue up that bell curve. And we're on our way. We get on the school bus for the first time. Some of us get on the school bus kicking and screaming. We don't want to be independent. But others just run and like, see ya, I'm out of here. I'm on the school bus of life. I get to leave, right? You're thinking about kids, aren't you? But it's all about seeking that independence, right? You get on the school bus, then it's graduation. Then it's you fly the coop and you get to go to college or you get to go off to work. And then it's you get to get married and you get to have a career and you start raising your own kids and you buy a house and you have financial independence. And so all this stuff is building and building and building and building. Our whole lives, we work to attain. And then you get to a point and it starts to go the other way. And then it's a matter of how do I keep it? I have to hang on. I have to hang on to what I've got. And you know what we do? We refuse to use the cane. We refuse to use the walker. Why? Because I want to stay independent. I worked my whole damn life to be independent. And now you tell me I got to use a cane? I got to use a walker? No. And then what happens? You fall. And then you're in the hospital. Why didn't I use the cane? Right? So we all go through the same vicious cycle. How do you stop the cycle? You stop denial. You have to come to acceptance. You have to be able to come to terms with the fact that we're aging. Anybody here familiar with blue zones? The blue zones. There's little pockets around the world that are now designated blue zones. Your country has a blue zone. Huh?
Centurions.
Yeah, centurions. So blue zones are places that have this predominantly high number of people that live beyond 100 years of age. And they all have certain things in common. Number one, family unit is very close. They socialize. They stay going out, they stay active, they stay involved, they try to walk. They eat well. They have specific diets, mostly Mediterranean diets, and they have lots of love. They've taken care of the 3 levels of the hierarchy of needs. They got them all. They got fresh air, they got warmth, they got good nutrition, they got love, they have socialization, they have all these gifts. They live. They smoke 2 packs a day. Smoke a cigar in Cuba. They live to 100 because they have everything else. It doesn't really have to do with what you're doing bad. It has to do with if you've got all that good. And so it's really, really interesting. The oldest living land mammal on Earth is a turtle. It's 191 years old. Guess what that turtle has in common with the centurions? He's been in a social environment and being cared for and been given the best treatment and the best medications and the best life for the last 90 years. When they realize, oh my God, he's over 100, we're going to take care of him. That sucker's still kicking, 191 years old. So he's an example or a metaphor for living well and the things you need to live well. So now I'm going to come full circle back to your question from the beginning, and then I'm going to wrap this up. Senior living provides that. You get a little nervous about the steps to senior living. But if you pick the right senior living, it provides all those things that the blue zones have. It gives you great nutrition. It gives you wellness. planning and nursing care. It gives you socialization and activities and doctors at your beck and call and nurses at your beck and call, and it creates an environment. It's an artificial environment. It's not the one you have in your home, but it creates that environment. It's a simulated environment, but it gives you a home. It gives you all the services and care you need, takes care of all the little pieces, makes sure that there's low salt in the diet, and makes sure that you're getting lots of fresh fruits and fiber, and it's managing you with dietitians. And so people that live in senior living environments, on average, live 10 years longer than people that stay at home. 10 years, that's a whole decade. This isn't me, this is a real statistic. So what is, and every senior that I talk to wants to stay home. You all do. 9 in 10, 90% of all seniors that I engage with want to stay home. And they are going to stay home, bound and determined, regardless of what happens. I don't care that I haven't seen the sun of day for 2 or 3 months because I can't get up. I don't care that I'm not eating well because I can't prepare my own meals. Damn it, I'm going to make it. I'm going to stay home alone. And then they fall. And then they end up in a hospital. And then they end up in skilled nursing. 40% of all people that go into skilled nursing after an acute incident or accident end up there the rest of their lives. And it's not a long life, and it's not a good life. So you're kind of gambling. All of us are. You gamble. You're gambling with the opportunity to have another decade to live on this earth and to enjoy your loved ones and to have people in your lives to take care of you. It's a gamble. It depends on whether you're a better or not. Do you want to live longer? Do you want to be in an environment like the Centurions are, like the Blue Zones? Or do you want to hang on to everything you worked for climbing that hill your whole life because it was yours? It was yours. It doesn't really mean a whole lot when we're gone. So when you really think about it, if you want to be on a path to wellness and a path to longevity, you need to consider the things that are necessary in your life to live that way. Senior living is an excellent option. Don't ever go it alone. Don't ever go it alone. The minute you walk into that environment alone, they got you. You have to be an educated person. You have to understand what these communities provide, like a guardian does. You have to know how to find care ratings for a community. You have to know what their state surveys say. Some of them are amazing. I can think of a handful of communities in this market right now that I would move myself to because they're perfect. They have great care models. They have great leadership. They have excellent staffing. They have low turnover. They have a good model. Nobody ever finds that good model on their own by guessing. So always work with a professional, whether it be me, my company, or another company out there. I can tell you that we are true clinical professionals, which makes a difference. We understand how to do peer-to-peer. We understand how to do transitional care management. We are the preferred provider of Lee Health System. If Lee Health System has a case that they want to transition to another environment, they call us. We're good, frankly, we are. So that's a little bit about my company, and that's the last minute toot. Any final questions before I let you guys go? Yes?
How does your company get paid?
Good question. We have 2 ways to get paid. So remember I said those people that want to stay at home against all odds? We help those people too. If you came to me and you said, I want to age at home, no matter what the cost, it's my obligation to build a plan to wrap you in care and allow you to age in place at home. No matter how much of a detriment you create for yourself, I would do that. When it comes to care management, I'm charging you. You're going to pay me directly. If you come to me and I say, here's what this roadmap looks like, and here's what this roadmap looks like, and this one is staying home, and this one is transitioning into senior care, this one costs you more, and I've given you calculators to show you. This one, I don't get anything from you because I'm contracted with all the communities in the state and they pay me. So, and that's an important piece to know. If you decide you want to make a transition, I become your consultant and I work for you and I don't charge you a penny. And I never steer you in the direction of a community for my needs because I'm contracted with all of them, but I'll certainly steer you away from a bunch. I'll tell you which ones not to go to. And those change sometimes. I've seen some communities turn around, but it's really, really important. So I'm contracted with about 250 senior living companies in the state. I have many national contracts as well. So I don't really have a stake in the game other than you. I want to know culturally what you're like. I want to know socially what you're like. I want to know clinically what you're like. I want to know from a nutritional perspective what you're like. I want to know spiritually what you're like. And I learn those dynamics, and then I go out and start looking at communities that have a fit to those dynamics. And at the end of the day, I'm trying to click in an order of priority from care down. And then if I find communities that hit all those, then I'm going to say, these communities fit the bill. They meet all of your needs across the board. Financial, I didn't say financial. Geez, that's an important one. I'm also going to make sure financially that it's within your budget. The cost of senior living. It's going up all the time, but so is the cost of everything. It can be sticker shock. You hear the numbers about senior living and you can cringe. When you actually do the side-by-side comparison, it's pretty equivalent. Comes out to be virtually the same, except it has care. If you are staying at home and you decide to have care at home, once you exceed 8 hours a day in care, you are upside down versus a budget to be in a care environment like assisted living. So I always tell my clients, if you need 8 hours a day or less, we can manage this. If you need more than 8 hours a day, you shouldn't be home alone anymore. The last statement on the percentages, 9 in 10 want to stay home. About 3 in 10 are actually able to physically. And the biggest challenge I have is meeting somebody and knowing that they're not safe and having to have a conversation and tell them they're not safe because they're in denial, just like we talked about earlier. And that's a very difficult conversation to have, but it's a truthful one. And so from a clinical perspective, you have to tell them you're at risk. A different topic would be dementia and Alzheimer's. And that's a factor that many of us are going to deal with. Just so you know some stats before I run, 1 in 4 after age 70 have some form of dementia. 1 in 4. That means there's people in this room. Dementia progression starts 10 years before symptoms might occur. I could be walking around with early symptoms of dementia right now. But until it becomes prevalent, I am not keenly aware of it. And then once it does become prevalent, I'm also not keenly aware of it, right? So dementia is a tough thing. There's 96 different forms of dementia?
About that.
96 different forms of dementia. Who knew? What's the most prevalent? Alzheimer's. But there's all kinds. There's diabetic-related dementia. There's alcohol-induced dementia. There's all these different lifestyle factors and risk factors that lead to dementia. We're all going to experience cognitive decline. We're all going to experience memory loss. Most of us experience that in a natural progression of aging. Some of us experience it in a not so natural way, like Bruce Willis. I don't know if anybody's followed that case. Bruce Willis went from me to having no idea what's going on and can't even talk within 1 year. So don't get caught worrying about your decline. Get caught managing how you prepare for the decline. Okay? And I think the last thing I'll tell you about senior living and the decision, do not wait until it's a crisis. If you are alone, if you are not able to care for yourself, you're at a care deficit, do not wait for it to become a crisis. Because when that happens, somebody else will start making your decisions for you. The fact that you are afraid, you say you're in a home environment, and you said fear is driving you to what? To stay home? The fear of the unknown. It's not the unknown. What do you think it is?
What they've heard.
It's what they've seen and smelled and heard, probably. But you have to understand that when I was a kid, when we were all kids, the nursing home was a place where mom and dad went to die, or where grandma and grandpa went to die, right? The visual in one's mind is about this place that didn't smell good. It was 10 rocking chairs lined up and everybody's head slumped over. They used to call it snowing. Right? Yeah, see, you remember it, right? We all remember that. Snowing. Do you know what snowing was? It was giving them all Ativan so they'd go to sleep and wouldn't bother you. So that was how nursing homes used to be run in the 50s or 60s, 70s even. Those nursing homes don't exist anymore. And don't forget, assisted living as it is today wasn't even born yet. So it's a different ballgame. But that's what's in their mind. If I'm dealing with an 85-year-old and he hears for the first time assisted living, that's all he can see. That's all he remembers. It is PTSD all the way. He knows that that's a bad place. I don't want to go there. You're not making me go there, not today, not ever. There's no way. But what he doesn't know is that about 1988, 1989, this new concept was born that took country clubs and care and merged them and said, we're going to give you a country club environment. And the reason they did that was because they saw that everybody was seeking nirvana. Everybody came here to be in 55 plus because it was an amenities-rich community where you could do everything with friends and have all this fun. And they said, oh, those people all started getting older. Well, what do we do now? Why don't we take a nursing home and merge it with 55 plus? And now we've got, boom, a whole new environment. We're all living longer. All of us, even if we're alone. We're still living longer. Our bodies are being saved. Advancements in medicine are keeping us breathing longer, keeping us alive. Our brains, they haven't figured that out yet. So as we live older and older and older, the care needs go up and up and up and up. And if you're not prepared, there's going to be a point in time where someone's going to have to prepare for you. If there's any last piece of advice I can give you, it's prepare. Not just with me. Make sure you have wills in place. Make sure you have your orders in place. Make sure that you have a healthcare proxy. Make sure that you've got a good financial planner. Make sure that you're working with trusted, vetted, bonded individuals that can help you manage the process other than just assisted living. If you need help with that, you call me. I can put you with anybody in the market that's professional and can help you. It's really, really important. Make sure your insurances are in place. If you guys were all 25 years younger, I would tell you, go buy long-term care insurance. Super important. You just didn't know. You know, now, if you buy it at your age, they'll probably charge you everything you got in your bank account, and it still won't be that good of a plan. But prepare as best you can. Have your affairs in order while you can. And if you need support with that, or you need references or resources for that, you can call me anytime. My personal cell phone is on my business card. If you need me, if you want to talk to me, if you have a friend that's in need, if you have anybody that's struggling, please call me. I'd be happy to help. Okay? Any last questions before I run? I kept you guys a long time, didn't I? I feel like a classroom professor that everybody's mad at. Are you good? All right. Anything gets deeper, any questions independently, call me, email me. I'll be sure to reach out to you and help you. I'm happy to buy you a cup of coffee. I don't charge anything to sit and talk to you. And I pride myself in being able to help you create paths forward. The most important thing is having a path forward and being able to have wellness and longevity for as long as you possibly can. All right? Thank you.